Good evening. Kabbalah time with Rav Laitman. Hello, Rav Laitman. Hello, Racheli. Hello, Dudi. And today we're going to be talking on a topic that you invited. You, the viewers, are going to lead it, and it's the matter of children education. There are many things about the young age, youth, parents that are asking themselves all kinds of questions because they don't know how to educate, and maybe they need to be educated. We'll understand in a moment. But before we get into this whole putting out fires and complaints and etc., we want to hear from you, Rav Laitman. Give us some lines for education of children. So I already heard that you're saying there that there's no children education. There's no education of the elderly or of the adults or of youth or of men, women, boys, girls. There's education. We're in a closed system. A system that is all connected to each other. Therefore, we can't educate a child unless we educate his parents as well. And we can't begin with the education of a child from, let's say, the young age of 5, 6, and 10, when he's going to school. And we need to understand that from the moment he's born, he is starting to get used to responses. He is most sensitive to how he is accepted and how he's responded to, even the baby, because he's dependent on it 100%, and therefore it's called education. How do we respond to him? How do we teach him in the proper and correct responses? How we respond and how he responds. That's one thing. The other thing is that we need to understand that there can't be the right education for a child if the father and mother aren't educated, and in general, the whole environment around them. Therefore, we need to start the life with education and finish it with education, and that's how it should be from generation to generation. As we can still see that in our generation, this topic is the most neglected, just gives us the clear and precise discernment of what state we're in. We are losing our generations, and they're kind of trickling between our fingers, and that's why every generation is freer, more distant, without any direction. Not that I want to hold on, God forbid, to someone, but the generation, the education actually, we need to just understand, education is a matter of a person understanding what will be good for him and from what he will have bad. That's actually education, nothing but that. Where he knows the rules, and if according to these rules in this life he goes, he'll know, if I go in this, it'll be bad for me. If I go in that, it'll be good for me. Why? Why can't he do this instinctively? Because we're not animals. Animals operate instinctively, and they have a protective, preservative mechanism that directs them correctly. A person, people, not. A small animal will never fall from heights, even though it was just born. Whereas a child, even if he's a year or 2-year-old, or even 5 years old, can fall. Because he doesn't have that same protective force that animals have. That's why he needs education. Meaning education, first of all, is in order to complete for us that which we lack from nature for the degree of man, of a person. Because nature only completes for us to the degree of animal, and also not like in animals. Therefore, there's a big problem for people. As a person enters in all kinds of dangerous engagements, into all kinds of dangerous societies, and by that he can finish his life. And an animal usually protects itself and is not mistaken. There's even a saying that an animal does not err. Therefore, first of all, our education, our minimal education, has to be such that a person will not err. To succeed, that's already an addition, but at least not make a mistake. So he knows about the dangerous things that await him in every corner in life, behind every corner. And this is where we need a big system, which is home, school, the yard, wherever he is, but everyone needs to participate in this. And really, this needs to be a national problem if we're already talking about the state of Israel. It's a national problem where I'm watching TV, when I'm watching all those phenomena today, what's appearing there, I don't think that it causes a child the right development. And more. Maybe we will move to some of the questions because you're starting to depict a national ideal forecast here. Otherwise, we will lose the generation. We're getting close to a state in which the generation was simply being lost from under our fingers. And it won't take the good values, not our values that we're concerned to give him so he goes like the fathers, etc. No, but for him to know what good and bad is. All life long, or at least half of the life, he will have to invest in studying. Is it good or is it bad? In place of supplying that to him to start with from the beginning of life. Maybe we'll start with Karen Rosen's question. I want to start with her question. She says, where do I have the strength as a parent to change bad habits that were immersed in me in childhood? Can a person change his behavior and habits? I can't, because I truly grasped them from childhood, and what's defined in me in childhood is almost impossible to change. But I can learn how to behave with my children in order to put into them the different laws of behavior than that which I have in my nature and for them to have in their nature. Meaning, even though I am flawed, warped, if I'm equipped with the right program of education, of course I can also behave differently towards my children. And to cause it to be imprinted in them and absorbed in them in a form of a new program. But once again, you're showing an integral system here where if I don't acquire these values, this program of education, even though you haven't acquired it, but you can acquire now how to relate to the children. You need to first go through the education. I need to go through that education, of course. Well, I have 3 children. Every action I do with them, 100% I'm doing wrongly. Yes. As long as I'm not corrected. Yeah, you'll see this throughout life. So Lee asks here, they're a young couple, and she says, how can we prepare in the most successful way to become parents? Educate ourselves. How? That's already a question. That's a question. But as long as we are not educated correctly and don't know how to relate to our children correctly, whether I have children or I will have children if it's a young couple. So I need to go into, with that question, to searching to the education department, to all kinds of groups, to all kinds of, I need to look for it. I need to find advice. Well, people are coming to ask you, well, now to go and start organizing the whole state, it's big for me. I have children every day. Give me something. I can't say anything about this because I'm not the education system or a center for education and not a non-for-profit that is concerned with education of children or parents. We are just giving education to those people who feel personally a necessity to reveal the essence of life. They need to be educated in a special way. I feel a double problem. Not only do I not know how to educate my children, I also myself, I don't know. I'm in a dead end. Yes, you're right. That's why I said it's a national problem, and it's a global problem. There's nothing in the world, and we talked about this already, that there is no greater problem in the world than education. If we were educated, would we have problems? Look at what's happening between countries, in each country, in every parliament, and our parliament here in the Knesset, in families, in classrooms and families. Look at what's happening. It's all as a result of lack of education. Let's ask. We have a little bit of a clash. The questions come a little bit more from life, and we're talking more on a global level. Right. So let's talk to the level of the viewers. Yeah, let's go down a little bit. Lior Gaba is asking, my husband and I don't agree about the education of children. He says the opposite of me and spoils everything I say or do. What do we do? You need to decide, because that's a very big problem. Towards the children, it's a very big problem. He sees the future, their future this way, and you may see it differently. Or maybe you see the same future for your children, even though both of you don't agree on the means, but you want to reach the same result. So you need, from that same result that you want to reach, you need to now check whether the mean by which you think and he thinks, which mean is better, or the combination of them, or how. That needs to be checked. But it's a matter of scrutiny. It's not that someone, meaning between us, is the mother and not supposed to put forth the education more? Usually the mother, yes. Although in our times, it could be that it's not always right. There's different kinds, different families, but usually education of the children belongs more to the mother. The father stands behind her. Simcha is asking, we are bridging between father and the children, or between the children themselves, that they're not in connection between them, they're not talking. We need to come to some topic that is very interesting to everyone. It could be a game, it could be sport, it could be to buy for everyone a bicycle and to go for a little journey, something like that. In short, if the father and the children are not talking, the best thing is to go on a common shared vacation to some safe place where they will be there, connected to each other, so that they feel a need in the connection. Orit Taub is asking, if we limit our children too much in harsh frameworks, they'll just want to run away. The first opportunity, they'll take their things and leave us forever, right? On the other hand, to give them complete freedom makes them little fascists without boundaries. How do you balance between the two? It's not between those two at all, not to this or to that. It's written about that. Educate a child according to his ways. Meaning, this is the whole of the wisdom of education, that we don't obligate a child to carry out something against his desire, and don't leave him to do whatever he wants, but rather let him make his desire your desire. Meaning we need together with him to try to do all kinds of steps in life that he will see that what we're recommending to him to do, and eventually he profits from that. We need to prove to him that what I'm recommending to him, there's a great profit from, the reward. Less suffering and more profit. How? How do I show that? That's only through talking. Only through talking with small proofs, with love, as we do it. And do it like animals. What do animals do? They show the little pups how to behave, and then they let them behave. You fell? Now you remember that that's how you don't do, that you do the way I showed you, and so on and so forth. Only in such a way. A child needs to absorb blows, not from us, but from life. He needs to be one of experience, both in the good and the bad. Let him fail? To let him fail for sure. Otherwise, what will he learn from? Altogether, he is a small egoist. He needs to know that if he doesn't do this way, but rather the way he feels like it, then he will immediately, or maybe later, receive blows from it. Can a child learn from my experience, or does he have to be experienced on his own and fail? It's almost impossible for him to learn from a foreign experience. On the level of educate a child according to his way, it's very clear. His way is actually egoistic. Yes, but why is it educate a child according to his ways? Meaning that you're educating him, but according to those forms that are accustomed to his attributes, his characteristics. They're asking here, is there a difference between the education of boys and girls? Oh, that's for sure. Also, according to that same matter of educating a child according to his ways, how can it relate to a girl like to a boy? It's different. Also, the roles from the mother and the father here, dividing that responsibility. The girls are completely controlled by the mother. And boys, it depends at what age and in what connection between the father and the mother. But the education is very different because we need to relate to a girl like to a woman from a very young age, and also to a boy like to a man. And as much as we give them more and more attitudes towards being a human being, an adult, we will succeed. Leo says, when do you know when to put boundaries, to punish, to put sanctions, and when to give up and be flexible? If I maintain certain boundaries, I need to show the child that those boundaries are not put by me. It doesn't just feel like it for me to do that, but rather that's life. It's independent of me. That these are the laws of nature or the laws of society, and that if we don't observe this, we will be harmed. And then I explain to him, I don't put any boundaries from me. I'm explaining to him that this is the boundary, the borders, even though you don't see it. But let me teach you that beyond this, you'll get a great punishment, and less than that, you'll have reward. And it doesn't depend on me, it doesn't depend on me, it doesn't come from me, but rather nature, the society, special limitations that are unique to a person. What to do in order for the education that I believe in will be immersed and absorbed in my child so that he truly internalizes those messages. First of all, we need to check whether the education that I received is right. It could be that it's not, and it's no more than a habit. And habit becomes second nature, and therefore it's easier for me to behave that way. Whereas that which is, instead of going against my habits, therefore I'm interested in passing on this to my children. So we need to check. I think that the first rule in all the forms of education is that I explain to the child why it is, and where it stems from, and why I think that it's worthwhile to go like this or another way. And we sit and we talk, and I give him this wisdom, and he returns and studies it, whether it's worthwhile or not for him, why I think this way or another way. And then it's absorbed. It seems like very friendly, kind of like, yes, of course. Education in general, the relationships with the children needs to be like a teacher friend. Does the friend need to be does the child need to be afraid of the parent? No, fear is not good. Trepidation, maybe? A little authority? Yes, authority. He needs to understand that the parent is someone that will always be by his side, and that he will feel that as a friend, he owes the parent. He has to delight him in his behavior, to make him, to give him, to just keep him happy. That's too much. You said that the whole education is to just explain what's good and what's bad, to direct correctly between good and bad. Yes, but again, As I don't put any boundaries or borders, I as a father or as a mother, or as both of them, we want to explain to the child how it is desirable to behave in life, to succeed, to profit, not to get into trouble, not to go into prison, not to have blows, and so on and so forth. Meaning we're explaining to him like the more adult, more older friends, and he needs to understand that that's our attitude towards him. That we're explaining to him how the world is built, how the society is built, how everyone relates to it this way and to that way, and so on. And the more explanations there are, and without boundaries or anything, towards the good and bad, Noah asks, so what is considered good and what is bad? Are good and bad absolute things or changing things? Good and bad is all relative. And from generation to generation, we can see how much that changes. Yes? Ruti is asking, how do you deal with a child not willing to accept no? Why say no to him? He wants something and she says to him that it's prohibited, enough, no. That's not good. We just talked about this a few sentences ago, I said, that a child doesn't need to hear about the boundaries. He needs to get an explanation that here there is a boundary, and this boundary does not depend on us, and in general, nothing depends on me, but rather it is all based on laws of nature, the laws of society, and I have to keep them in order to not be harmed. And I also am about to explain to him only so that he won't receive some kind of punishment or damage. Nurit is asking, is it right in order to educate and evoke envy towards another brother or sister, how they're behaving? No, we won't be friends with the child if we do so. No, I am not ever going to go to lower him, to humiliate him. Take an example from your brother and so on. Look how he gets clothed, he gets dressed fast. Let's hurry up and get dressed fast also, and we'll go to school. No. It doesn't work over time. By that, I am nevertheless showing to him that he's not okay. He's not okay. What? He's not okay, right. But why do I need to show that to him? In order to drive him to show him what's okay and to advance. No. Why do you need to advance him in life in such a manner that he is worse than others? It's like I'm feeling like everything needs to be on the positive side. Yes? Nothing negative. Correct. But he doesn't want. Let's go into the daily life. He doesn't want to do what I'm asking him to do. And what I'm asking is standard. It's social things that are musts. So why are you asking? Again and again, explain to him where it stems from, that it's not your demand, and it's not just your request, but rather because you're late, let's say, for school or to some place, you need to come to work, and therefore explain to him, show him the clock, teach him why it's important, why it's so important for you to now tell him that now we have to get dressed. Everything needs to be explained, to detail everything. You're teaching him the wisdom of life. Clear. To education, to give orders is not good. He won't learn why. So the moment you won't be, and no one will tell him anything, he won't do it. So wait, it just seems too sweet, this education. It's not sweet. It's rational. It's simply rational. You're explaining to him everything in life, why we do so. And therefore he will do this, because he understands from this that it's worthwhile for him to do so, and this is customary, and otherwise there will be a punishment, and so on. Wonderful. Is there a punishment in the framework of this education? Well, the punishment is not ours. The punishment because of the police, the neighbors, or something else. Of course there's punishments in life. But it's not that you're defining the punishment and rewards, but that's defined from nature, from the system that we're engaged in, even from godliness. It depends on how you're educating. If we just find certain laws at home and we decided, and we're parents and they're clear. No, that's not good. Why are you deciding on such rules? So I'll leave this home. Oof, when can I just get out of them? If a child beats his little girl, we decide in our home that we don't beat up each other. Why? Because it hurts, it's harmful, it hurts, it's not pleasant. You don't want this to be done to you. Why? But why is it not fair? He's pressuring his little sister, and she even cries or something. So he feels himself that he's big, that he's strong. How will you explain that? So what should I tell him? So continue, enjoy, kill him? No, but why punishment? No, I'll explain. But if the phenomena continues, but once again, we define certain rules by which we will not outstand them, not leave those. So if we explain those rules, there's place for punishment. Again, explain, meaning there's no punishment. There's just explanation over and over. Yes. You need a lot of patience. It's not patience. You're building a person. That's how he will educate your grandchildren. I want to go back to what we said before. Let's say it's 7:30 and we need to go to the kindergarten, and he's enraged. He doesn't want to go to kindergarten. He doesn't want to get dressed or to put his shoes on, and I'm trying, and he's running away, and it's the most hysterical scene there is. I need to explain to him the ramifications, that I'll be late for work, and then they'll take money out of my salary, and then what? How do I explain this to him, this punishment that is around? If you start the education from this day, it's a problem. That's really a problem. So you need to play with this on Shabbat, or at another time when there's time. And then you need to play it. And really, to truly wait for a free day, when you have time. And now let's play like in a theater. Him and you. The whole scene, the whole scenario that you have throughout the week. That's it. So he acts, and you act. And let him go around on the floor and be enraged and yell, I don't want, and do his rage attack. And you try to convince him that it's not right. And change roles. Swap your roles. Let's say you'll take a puppet or a doll or a teddy bear that doesn't want to get dressed, and the child needs to convince him that he has to get dressed and go to kindergarten or to school. Let him do it. Let him feel how hard it is. How will he find the words? It will influence him in a way that is wonderful, I promise you, because he'll already clothe onto someone else and start to understand that other than his screaming, the mind, the brain of the other, the words of the other, he needs to say what you're saying to him. Try. There are many such tricks. I'm going to try that. This coming Sabbath? Yes. But it's under the condition that you're calm and you can play it. And you can play in this. Okay? That's it. You take his teddy bear and you say, okay, let's do on the teddy bear the same exercise that you did to me. Dana is asking the following question. Even if I'm educating my child in the right way, for the sake of the matter, there are children that are not educating their children, and their children on different frameworks, and it returns and brings me all kinds of viruses home. That also happens, right? So we play that too. We act that out too. Let's say my little child has there in the group in the kindergarten some Shlomo who's wild and doesn't listen, and so on and so forth. So we act that at home. So he can tell me again he can tell his little teddy bear again how Shlomo is behaving, and how we can behave with him such that we will calm him down and do something. Everything needs to be in this game, in this theater, playing, in swapping roles and trying to explain and convince. This role-playing is in order to explain to him what the problem is, for him to be in my place. What, to develop consideration? He'll understand what it is. Let's say I don't want to go to kindergarten now. And he, as a father, needs to turn to me and explain to me why I do need to get dressed and go. Well, he all of a sudden catches himself as there's a situation that is very serious. Ruth, who asked before about a child that doesn't want to accept no, so she writes, she asks you again, another question, and if he's not willing to accept the explanation, he simply wants what he wants. True stubbornness, and Shachar adds, what age are we talking about that you can't say no? Maybe there's an age that you can say no? I wouldn't do it so. No. Even when I'm saying no, I must explain why no. I must explain it to him that it's not because I feel like it, that it doesn't seem to me, that that's how I think and that's it. I told you so. Or something like that. But rather, there are objective reasons that do not depend on me, and that's why I'm saying that it's not allowed to do so. I'm building in him a different attitude towards life. Mickey asks, what's the opinion of Rav, one who holds back on his stick, holds back on the education of child? So here we're coming to an education on a deeper level. Let's say that really a child did something that is against all our customary agreements and ways, and I see this. I tell him, just remember what you did. The next day, I call him and talk with him about what happened yesterday. Explain to me why you did it. Explain to me. And who is right or not. Let's do a discussion, like with a judge, like with a lawyer, and so on. We can call the mother, and the mother needs to act something completely neutral. And in general, the whole family can be there if there are other brothers and sisters. And then we come to a decision that whether he did something good or not. If he didn't do good, what punishment does he choose for us to do? Because there's always reward in punishment. He chooses his own punishment? He chooses his own punishment. What does he think that he really deserves as a punishment? Why? In order to remember that next time he won't do it. What does he think? What does he think will help him not fail again in that same deed, let's say, in that same problem? Yes, well? I feel like you're expecting a child to be really settled in his thought, rational. No, not so much so, I understand. But he needs to see that we're relating to it in a very serious manner. That we expect of him a response that is rational and mature. And we relate to him like to a big one. More than a big one. That I'm asking himself what he did and why he deserves a punishment he needs to say. And what punishment he needs to say. Try. It won't work at once. He won't accept it, he won't want, and this and that. But slowly, this approach will build in him a different attitude towards actions, towards life, towards what is happening to him. Dave is asking, if there's a situation where there's like a struggle of forces, a little disregarding and bad behavior between children and brothers and sisters, how do you do this? What do you do with this? That's already group work. If you're saying between the children. Yes. This is already something that needs to be very special work, where here we need to lower the pride of the child. Yes, but not that we're doing this, but the means, just like in a group, we do in our groups. Family is a group. A family is a group. Just like a man and woman, divinity dwells between them. The children also participate in all these things. We need to be more in participation. How do I lower the pride of a bully child who's really, it's emphasized, you can really see it standing out towards others. It's not at once, but we need to be very against it, that we don't agree with such behavior. Very simply, we respect something completely opposite. It's everything. Sir, you don't have any possibility other than the environment. And the environment is not you, but rather it's the opinion of the world, of the whole family, but that environment, the surrounding. Through that surrounding, you need to increase and greaten his actions that are good and to lower his actions that are bad. By starting to stabilize a person, establish his territories, and to tell him this is okay and not okay, this won't cause him throughout the years to say, okay, this is not my place, I'll go to a different place. When he goes up, no, you're building values in him. Let's say he knows that being forceful that he did, let's say with his brother or his sister, he disregarded them and did that. The whole family is now relating to him with disregard. Dan is asking to continue that as to forceful. There are children that are very violent. We're teaching them to be social, but on the other hand, they're too much giving up to others. They will always receive and kind of become soft, as they say. I've never seen such a thing in my life. I think that if a person is settled, if he knows how the world is built and how people respond, and he responds accordingly to that, not with force. Usually those people profit, they're rewarded. They live a cautious life, but very settled, measured, and the society respects them and doesn't come to them kind of, they're not included in such violent situations. No, I haven't seen that. Usually, a settled, measured person knows how to protect himself. Another question, psychologists and professionals say that it's good to put boundaries in order to give confidence for a person, that a boundary is put, and gradually, do we need to put a boundary and then expand with an explanation, or first an explanation, and if that doesn't work, then put a boundary. I am not an education person, not a psychologist, not a teacher, and therefore I don't have what to say against them or for them. I'm just saying from my experience what I would recommend, and this stems from the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's it. In this, I don't want to replace any opinion of any teacher, psychologist, caregiver, and so on. That's prohibited for me to do, because despite the fact that we see the results from the education that are horrible, but nevertheless, for the time being, those people control our children, and it's not me who is coming to lower them from their roles. Are there advantages to bringing brothers to the world, meaning to have other children? Or is for a single child? Yaniv is asking. Usually, two is not beneficial. If it's 3 or 4 and so on, then it's more. But 2, it's always one chooses for himself some form, some pose, some standing, and it doesn't bring great benefit. I would recommend 3 or 4 children in a family. That's a family. 4 is So Michal is asking, I have 4 children in different ages. How do I succeed to divide my attitude and my attention to each of them? We need to teach them to be together. We need to educate them that for them to care for each other. We need to relate to them in such a way as they're already adults and are in a world without parents. And that from that they will feel the connection between them, the mutuality that there is between them, that they themselves without parents also belong to a family. That will give them a nice connection for all their life. Miki is asking what to do where after a divorce the other parent is distant from the friends, neglects them, loses all connection with them. That has nothing to do with children education. That has to do with education of parents, and also in such special cases. There are troubles here in every turn and every corner. What do you recommend to a single parent? He's alone, he needs to educate the children. There's no partner there, there's no other example, there's no two. Liron is asking, what do you do when the father's not in the picture? It's not important that the father's not in the picture, but the father's there. He comes home, he's not in the picture, meaning he's not home. Yeah, she's a single mother, meaning the father is not at home. Yes, that's a different problem. Because if the father's at home, even if they don't see him, he comes late, goes early, and more, that's something completely different. That's preferable than not being at all. What to do if there's only a mother? She needs to talk a lot with the children, a whole lot, and to really share them in everything she can, at home, in everything, and to be with them as a partner, as their friend, and so on. If we talked about a father, Gil says, what's my part as a father in the education of children? The father is a great authority. He needs to show the child that he's his friend of the child, that he wants his benefit. He needs to make sure that he doesn't pressure the child in order to lower his confidence. He needs to develop the child in such a manner that the child will feel that he has a father who's a friend. And for the child to want to get advice from him on any case in life, it all depends on how the big one relates to the small one. And to talk, a lot of talking. A lot of talking. Michael is asking, what are the qualities that create a teacher to be worthy of educating our children? A teacher is really the highest profession, the most important one, because from no other profession in our life do we feel the phenomena, the results for all our lives and for generations to come. Therefore, it seems to us like a teacher could be anyone. And that's a very big problem. Who could be a teacher? One who feels the responsibility for humanity, that needs to reach an existence of the purpose of creation, so it will be risen to such a height in which one will help another. Love your friend as yourself. Everyone are friends, and so on and so forth. The teacher has to, first of all, educate the children to be as such, to be as one society, as all friends, all Israel are friends, and so on. This is not simple. But one who received the right education can also be a right teacher. But the main thing is that he's willing to teach and is capable, wants to educate the children to be friends. There's nothing more important in education than to build from the children a society that will maintain itself in a nice, good, mutual way, and so on. Other questions. Miki is asking, I have this feeling that the more I give to my children, they want even more and appreciate it less. Actually, when I didn't give them in the past, they appreciated me more. What's the best way to give them, but for them to appreciate and not disregard? That's true that children, the more you give them, appreciate it less, because every child is an egoist, and as much as he's given, it's as if you're explaining to him that he deserves it, and if he deserves, then why not more and even more and more? That's why everything depends on what way you give and what we give. They need to understand that everything we give them, we give it to them only in order for them to succeed in life. And we need to sit and to choose. Is it right or not? Together with them. You deserve it or not, that's not a question. What does it give you? To be proud in front of others, you won't be like them or will be like them, and so on. We need to sit and talk. Rachel is asking, is it right to use my history as examples? No, God forbid. What I received when I was small, no history, nothing from the past. There is nothing like that. No one wants to hear that. You shouldn't give examples from my childhood when I was small and what I had and didn't? Of course not. No way. What examples? Do I need to, what, from your generation? Maybe you should bring dinosaurs here to the living room and explain something. Of course not. That's prohibited. That's truly not allowed. I didn't receive. You won't receive either. What depth is there in here? What does that have to do with what does one thing have to do with the other? I didn't receive because I didn't receive, right? It was unknown, not customary, and so on. But today, if everyone has some smartphone there or something like that, why can't she receive it? Yes? Shachar says, why is it so difficult for a father to lower to the level of a child and play with him with patience and not be bored? Because the father also didn't receive the right education. We need to open courses for parents, for mothers, for fathers, how to talk, how to relate. That has to be. There's not even any time. There's no time for that on TV. They give us such nonsense, only not that. This is what I'm saying. Education is a global problem, and definitely in ours as well. And that's why no one's doing anything, because there's no political, economical profit in this. So it's kind of neglected. Gilad is asking, is there some kind of boundary to the love that parents can give a child so he won't be harmed? Yes. Love must be clear that the parent loves the child, but doesn't awaken the love in every moment in order to not destroy the relationships between them. It needs to be balanced. The force of good and the force of bad, the force of truth and the force of falsehood, love and hatred, every single thing. The child needs to, let's say, get used to feeling that against every good thing there's something bad. And also there's nothing bad if I wouldn't have against it something good. And he needs to get used to living with those two forces, those two discernments together. Then it will truly be balanced and strong. Well, Amit is asking, and maybe with that we'll start to summarize here. Amit says, can we summarize in a few sentences, how do you see the right education? The right education, I see it as we open courses for parents and teach them truly a few times a week even what's considered education, how to have the relationships between them and how to show the relationships to the children, how to attract the children so that they will be in a connection between the parents, and how the parents divide the roles so that they can't just be always together and with the children, maybe the mother more, the father less, and so on. We need to educate the parents. And after we educate the parents, then through the parents, we start to show them how to relate to the children. I think that modern parents don't have time for their children because you need to sit a lot and talk. What's going on in the kindergarten? What's happening with this and that? And how much? Let's play what happened in the kindergarten, like in some theater scene here, with puppets and something, so that the child will tell what happened there in the relationships between everyone. And we need to learn this and respond, meaning to do some sort of explanation of what's happening and to place it under the scrutiny. Is it right and not? And why yes and why no? Every day we need to sit and talk with our children about what they went through in their day, and they need to know how the right attitude should be, and without pressure or anything, just explanation, and that it doesn't depend on me, and it's not my opinion, but rather why it's yes and why no, from the wisdom of the world, from life. It's not that father's opinion is this way and mother's that way, and that's it. It needs to be very logical, as much as possible, explain to them. And then, in a very short period of time, it will change the perception, the approach to life in a child. Nevertheless, I also have this question, as we're hearing and talking now, that education is a really full-time job. You need to be constantly in explanation, constantly talk, constantly give an example, be very cautious, not to press, to always be like that. Maybe parents don't need to educate the children. Maybe we need to do some other form of education. It was always like that. The mother would sit at home. When she was a girl, she also received education and knew how to educate her children. The father would go to work. He'd come back in the evening. There's nothing to do. It brought money to the home so that the family could live. But the mother was the educator for the children. She was at home all the time and caring. Tal is writing here, actually, that there's no recognition in the society about women who have given up their career for educating children. They receive no respect, and the value of education of children in Israel is very low. What's happening in the Israeli society, I don't want to talk about. But there is a very big problem that we're not building our nation. And without building the people, the nation, we're not building the state. We're not building our future. So I really am very happy that they're concerned for this. And maybe it could be that we need to open a course and to try to give an answer, maybe on the internet, where every person that's home will be able to participate with us together. And from the questions and answers and explanations, we won't do it frontal lectures. But from such things, advices for life. Yeah, we'll build the lessons. And this will give assistance to those who are interested. I think that's the hottest topic we had so far. In truth, there are many viewers, many questions. They want to continue with you next week, and they want next week for you to already start a parent course at this time. So there's no doubt that it's a hot topic and important to everyone. Okay, we can, yes, on these times, yes, maybe build something more methodical around complete topics, not just the questions and answers, but give a more structured method. Well, I don't know that I have the method, really. We need together what I know from the nature of man, the nature of the society, the nature of the world, through the wisdom of Kabbalah, that I will give. I am not about to be a teacher or a guide here. I don't want them to accept me as some instructor guide on this. It's prohibited of me to do so. In truth, it was only given to those people who have an authorization from the education department. You understand? I'm not a teacher. I know, but it's just enough that you're giving ideology and direction. Yes, I can. What I think on this topic, I am about to say. I can testify that as a parent, it gave me a lot of importance, a lot of awareness, many things that I didn't think about. It's so natural because you're saying it's from the nature of man, of this end of the system, and in me, the nature is opposite. Rav Kook writes, we'll finish with the words of the Kabbalist. Rav Kook writes, the purpose of education is to qualify a person to his corrected state, where the central point in it is to make him good and straight and correct. So we succeed. So thank you to our viewers. Thank you for your questions. We'll continue here next week with Rav Laitman. And this coming Monday, all over Israel, there are intro lectures on the wisdom of Kabbalah to learn about the nature of man and nature of the world. I'd like to add that whoever enters the campus, that's what it's called, yes, the Kabbalah campus, whoever enters there is certainly going to receive those beginnings of education, the attitude of a person to the world, how to relate to children. We learn this from this course as well. I truly recommend it. So details, 1-700-509-209, or on the Kabbalah site. We're happy to see you and meet you on this coming Monday. And if not, we're still with you on the internet. May we have a good week.